Hey guys, welcome back. This is my Premier League 2023-2024 season prediction. Before I get into any of this, I'd just like to say I'm not a know-it-all. I don't know all the stats and what. I'm just basing it on what I've seen, what teams have brought in and who they sold. And yeah, so don't go too harsh, but we'll see. In 20th is Sheffield United. The reason why I put Sheffield United is I don't think they're good enough. They've sold their best players and they have not brought in players that are Premier League quality. I think they've just basically gone, we needed the money to survive the club. If they hadn't got promoted, they would have been destroyed. And basically they've gone, we got the money from the getting promoted. That's helped our financial situation. But they kind of gave up before the season's even started. And basically, I don't think they're going to be good enough. 19th, Luton Town. So painful to put them here. But, again, not brought in Premier League quality. They've done some good business. And I think at Kenilworth Road, they're going to put up a fight against teams. Teams are going to go there and it's going to be nothing like they've ever played before. Old stadium, long grass, the fans behind them. They brought in Ross Barkley on a free. Tanith Jones, who used to play for Man United, but obviously went to Birmingham City. They brought him in, which is a good deal. Nakamba from Aston Villa, which is a good deal, but not good enough for the Premier League. And it pains for me to put them 19th, but I just can't see them surviving. Moving on to the last team to get relegated is Wolverhampton. Now, people going, oh, Wolves, no. Yeah, they're going to get relegated. Let's just look at the players they've sold or got rid of. Connor Cody to Leicester City. Nathan Collins, their centre-back, who's aged, I think, 19, to Brentford. Raul Jimenez to Fulham. Their big one, Ruben Neves to Al Hilal, 50 million. And then you've got the likes of the players they had to release. Diego Costa. Joe Marriott. Who else? Adam Traore. They had to release these players because of the financial situation they were in. But they can't bring anyone in. So the team's got worse. An announcement came out today that they've let go of their manager. And I think rumours are that Gary O'Neill, the former Bournemouth manager, is going to take over. But again, I just don't see the quality being there for Wolves to survive the Premier League. Now, who could go down if Wolves doesn't go down is Nottingham Forest. They had a good season last season. I'm not going to knock that. But again, I think they relied heavily on loan players. We looked at last season and they brought in something like 26 new players. This season, they haven't done that, which is good. They had a pre-season, which they didn't have last season, so it's better. But I think it's going to be second season syndrome for them. They brought in Alanga from Man United. They still got Gibbs White, which is a quality player. But then you've looked at the players that were on loan last season. Remy Lodi from Atletico Madrid, which is some ridiculous way he went there in the first place. Keylor Navas, the PSG goalkeeper. Dean Henderson from Man United, another goalkeeper. And at this moment of time, with 1 day to go before the Premier League, they haven't got a keeper in. So, for me, Nottingham Forest just avoid relegation. Could I see them get relegated? Yes. But I think it's going to be very close, especially with the next team that's above them, which is Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth, last season, everyone thought they were going down. 20th. Everyone writ them off. Now, Bournemouth, again, like Nottingham Forest, could feel the effects of second season syndrome. The reason why I've put them 16th is because they have done some good business in the transfer window. Justin Kluivert from Rome, nearly 10 million. Hadam Toure from Sassuolo, 20 million. Milos Kazasic, I think I'm saying it right, 15 million. They've spent money, which is very important. They've improved, they proved everyone wrong last season. And I think they're going to have to prove people wrong again this season. Obviously, they let go of Jefferson Lama to Crystal Palace, which is a big loss. They backup goalkeeper Mark Traves to Stoke, I believe. But I do believe Bournemouth have the potential to survive the Premier League. Yes, I think 16th is a bit harsh. Do I think they could push on maybe 1 or 2 places? Yeah. The reason why I put them 16th is because the next team... So Everton 15th could be controversial. Now, the reason why I put them 15th is because of Sean Dyche. No, Sean Dyche is a great manager. I think with obviously spending 6 months at Everton last season and then having the whole year, I think he can get what he wants out of the players. The problem is Everton have just survived the Premier League for the last 2 seasons, with the last 2, well, obviously last year being the last game of the season, and the year before the second to last game of the season, just surviving. Obviously, with Dyche, you'd think a whole season they should be fine. The problem is if Everton do get dragged down, are Everton gonna stick with Sean Dyche? I think their transfer business has been not great. Ashley Young on the free, which obviously is a great person to have in the locker room, in the dressing room. That leadership quality. He did it for Aston Villa last season and they managed to get into 8th. But when you got Ashley Young, who's 37, and then Seamus Coleman at right back, who's 38, their defence is going to get ripped apart. And they've lost Andrew Townsend, Yerry Mina, Begovic, their backup keeper, Tom Davies, who's only young but was been at Everton for the last 5 years. Isaac Price If you play FIFA, you know about him. Ellis Simmons, who had a couple good games last season when Calvin Phillips was injured. Gone. Everton could struggle, but I'm hoping that Sean Dyche can keep them up. 14th, Burnley. Burnley, the third team that was promoted, they won the championship. Now, this isn't Burnley that was run by Sean Dyche. No, boring football, just surviving, no money. No, this is Vincent Kompany, who was taught by Pep Guardiola. They spent good. James Trafford from Man City, the young goalkeeper, who had an awesome under-21s World Cup for England. Well, he won it. Nathan Redmond, on a free, they brought in, which Sander Berg from Sheffield United, who we talked about being last. Sander Berg was Sheffield United's best player for the last 4 years. And Burnley have gone and picked him up. They're going to play good football. Great manager. Obviously, I'm putting them very high up, hoping that they're going to do well. You never know. I've got faith that they are going to do something special this season. Last season, you looked at Fulham, 10th. Nottingham Forest, 16th, I believe it was. Bournemouth, surviving. Burnley will survive. And I think they can push on. But I think the teams above them, up to 10th, are just a bit better. So who have I got in 13th? Crystal Palace. Now, usually, I would put Palace 11th. The reason why I put them in 13th is because, obviously, this season, there is no Zaha. No, he's gone to Fenerbahce. It was whether he was going to stay or go, they didn't really know. Zaha has been their best player, their most important player for the last 4 years, since obviously coming back from Man United on the season he left, came back. Obviously, they still got Eze, who's a baller, and they got Michael Olise. However, there is rumours that he could be joining either City or Chelsea. If he goes, they could easily slip down to 16th, 15th. They got Roy Hodgson still as manager. He did well to take over from Patrick Vieira last season. But is he too old? He's managed Palace before and they didn't play great football. If they can keep it up with that exciting, dynamic duo of Eze and Olise, they could be a good team to watch. But if they don't play the right formation, they don't click, it could be a hard season for Palace. I just think Zaha going is a massive blow. It's like West Ham losing Declan Rice, best player, most important player. Things will change and it's going to be a hard season. In 12th, Fulham, now obviously Fulham fans will be disappointed. They finished 10th last season. The reason why I put them 2 places down is because the uncertainty of Mitrovic. He came out in pre-season and said he doesn't want to play Fulham again. Obviously, they brought in Raul Jimenez from Wolves, but he's not the same quality as Mitrovic, Obviously, Willian signed a new contract, but then Saudis came calling. And, he wants to now go. So despite signing a new contract and saying, I'm happy, the money came in and now he wants to go as well. Obviously, there's also rumours of Marcus Silva, the manager, leaving to Saudi. You know, obviously, I think the chances are Mitrovic, William, and the manager leaving are very unlikely. I just think if Mitrovic does go or sits on the bench, Raul Jimenez isn't going to do the job that Fulham want. And I think that's the reason why they dropped down 2 places. But 12 is still a good season for Fulham. You know, people thought they were going to go down last season and they survived. I think compared to Forest and Bournemouth, they are not going to suffer from second season syndrome. Yes, they're going to drop down places, but they're not going to be in the relegation battle. And I think in 11th, I put Brentford. Now, obviously, if you're a football fan, you know that Ivan Toney has been suspended and he will be out for until Christmas, January. Now, that's their top goal scorer. He scored 18 goals, I believe, last season. You know, whoever they bring in will not be the same quality. Obviously, the reason why I think they can get 11th is because when he comes back, they've brought in some good players, don't get me wrong. Mark Flecken, Kevin Shade, and Nathan Collins. Obviously, I think them letting go David Raya to Arsenal, even though it's on a loan, is not good. You know, he was one of the best goalkeepers last season. But I think Brentford will have a strong season. They're well run, you know, even with Tony going, they will find a replacement. They will have a strategy for that because they knew that was the decision since last season, you know. So I think Frank will find a way. Brentford will have a great season. Moving on to 10th is West Ham. Now, the reason why West Ham are 10th, despite winning the Conference League last season, they've not done enough in the transfer window. Obviously, with 1 day to go, there's reports that Edison Alvarez from Ajax have officially signed for West Ham. I believe the deal has gone through for £35 million. They are looking at Harry Maguire as United fan. Thank God, West Ham. And they are looking at McTominay. Now, they won the Europa Conference League, which is great, but last season they didn't do well in the league. You know, there was chances at some point towards the later stages that they could have got relegated. Obviously, they pulled through. But now they're in the Europa League, which is a harder competition. So if they did worse last season with Conference League, you think they're not going to get any better. Now, obviously, they've got money to sign from the Declan Rice, 105 million. They've also let go of Samaka, so they need a new striker. Lanzini's gone. You know, they still got Suchek, you know, Samo, is it? The centre back, you know, Cresswell, Antonio, they still got, you know. West Ham have a good side. It's just what they want to do, you know. Are they going to go for the Europa League? And that could affect their league position? Or are they going to play more safe and focus on the league and improving, you know? Obviously, for West Ham fans, most people want David Moyes out. So, as a West Ham fan, let me know in the comments down below. Do you want Moyes out, or do you think he should stay? You know, he won Europe for them, a major trophy. So, does he deserve to get sacked? In ninth, Tottenham Hotspurs. Now, the reason why I put Spurs ninth is because today they have officially accepted Bayern Munich's €100 million bid for Harry Kane. Now, obviously, it's up to Harry Kane whether he leaves. Even if Harry Kane stays, I do not think they can break into the top 8. I think the 8 teams above them, which you'll see, are just better, you know. You've had the likes of Jose Mourinho and Conte managing Spurs and not gone anywhere. And they've all said it's a Spurs problem. It's David Levy's problem. Like, he doesn't do the club well. Now, yes, they brought in Kulusevski on a permanent deal now. Maddison for 40 million. They got a new goalkeeper in Vaccaro from Empoli, which cost them nearly 18 million. Obviously, Pedro Porro from Sporting last season. They have lost Lucas Moura, and you remember his time there, you know, in the Champions League when they got to the final. He played a crucial part in that. I guess it all depends on Harry Kane, isn't it? That's the whole Spurs thing. If they sell him, which they've accepted the bid, and Harry Kane does go, I do not see them being able to bring in someone who's good enough. So I think ninth for me is very generous for Spurs fans. I know they're not going to be happy, but I think breaking into the top 8 is going to be too hard for them. So in 8th is Brentford. Now, obviously, Brentford fans won't be so happy because they finished 6th last season. So it's 2 places down. But I think what you got to remember is they are going to be playing Europe this season. They've obviously lost McAllister to Liverpool. And there's obviously talks with Caicedo leaving to Chelsea. They brought in the Anderlecht goalkeeper, Bart van Berg, Mohamed Daoud from Dortmund, Joe Pedro from Watford for 30 million. So they brought in players, you know. Brighton, just like Brentford, probably the best ranked club in the world, in the Premier League, for sure. Now, you saw it last season. Cucurella, Potter's going, the manager, and they bring in these young players that people never fucking heard of, and they turn into world beaters, you know, from like South America, Asia, whatever, and they come ballers and they make so much money off these players. Now, Brighton is probably the best club for sure. And I think they'll have a good season this year. Moving into 7th, I have Aston Villa. I put Aston Villa 7th because I think they have done some amazing business this season. Pau Torres, obviously, played with Emre before. They've gone and signed Yuli Tielemans from Leicester, which is a great business. And Moussa Diaby signing from Bayern Leverkusen to Aston Villa is a great business. He's going to rip the Premier League apart. Obviously, they have Conference League, which I would put money on them winning it. West Ham did it last season, and I believe Aston Villa have a better squad. So I don't see why not. They can't finish 7th. and win the Conference League. Obviously, the fixtures on Thursday and Sunday and Saturday will play a factor, but I think they've done great business. The manager is brilliant. Obviously, I think most people look at him and go, obviously Arsenal, he didn't have a good time there, but coming in last season, taking over Gerrard, he did bits for them and got them into Conference League. So I think they can go one step further and get 7th this season. And I think for Aston Villa, that is a great season to break into the top 7 and get Europe. In 6th, Newcastle. Again, like Brighton, I think Newcastle fans will be annoyed with this. Obviously, it's 2 places from what they got last season. Obviously, they finished in 4th. But they are in the Champions League. I think when you haven't been in the Champions League for years, decades, you want to put on a show. So Newcastle are going to take it very seriously. And they're going to want to do well against the big boys in Europe. And that comes at a cost of the Premier League. Because I don't think their squad size is big enough. Yes, they brought in Harvey Barnes, Livramento from Southampton, Tonali, the big statement, 55 million from AC Milan, which is a great business. But when you're playing in Europe and trying to get back into Champions League, which they are hoping to do again, I just think that squad is not big enough. You know, obviously, there's 8 to 9 months until the end of the season. There's obviously still the summer transfer window and the January transfer window where they have got loads of money. You know, obviously, we thought last season they were going to spend billions trying to be like Man City. They haven't done that. So fair play to them. But they do have the means to do that if they want to. But yeah, I just think because of Champions League football and they will want to do well, it will come at cost to their league position. But still finishing 6th ahead of Brighton, Aston Villa and Spurs is a great season. So I don't think you should be disheartened by this. I think they've proven last season that they're good enough. So yeah, I think Europa League 6th place for Newcastle is a great season. 5th, Chelsea. Now, compared to the teams around it, Chelsea do not have any Europe competition. So for them, this season is just the Premier League. The reason why I think they've put them 5th is because I think Chelsea are still a mess. I don't think you can go from 12th last season, obviously, until last 6 games or 5 games or something. There was a chance of them getting relegated. You know, they went through manager. Obviously, they set on Pochettino, which I think he'll have a great season. Good manager for Chelsea. But there's too many problems. And I don't think you can fix it over one year. He's going to have 2-3 years. Obviously, this year as a test experiment, transfer, like trying to get them back to where they are, and next season then pushing on. So I think 5th for Chelsea is a great season. I don't think you should be complaining because you didn't finish it in Europe and last season. So even if you finish 7th, that's still a good season for you. And Cuckoo, they signed, but is injured for the first 3 months. Nicholas Jackson looking good in pre-season, but that does not mean that he's going to do it well in the Premier League over a 38-game season. You know, I think he will do well against teams like Sheffield, Luton, Palace. No, But when it comes to the big games against the top six, or original top six as we call it, Chelsea, United, Arsenal, Liverpool, City and Spurs, I don't think he'll be able to do well. I think he'll go missing, and that's still not a world-class striker that Chelsea want. But I think fifth obviously is an improvement from last season, and I don't think Chelsea fans can actually really complain about that. Moving on to the top four now is Liverpool. Now, they had a great end to the season last year. Obviously, they pushed Man United and Newcastle to the wire in the last 8 games, I believe it was. They've done some good signings bringing in of McAllister, 35 million, paying obviously his release clause. Dominic Szoboszlai, I think that's how you pronounce it, from RB Leipzig, 60 million. That is good business. The reason why I think they're going to finish fourth is because they've lost their heart of the midfield in Naby Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, obviously Firmino, Jordan Henderson and James Milner. James Milner and Henderson have been at Liverpool for the last 6, 7, 8 years. They've been that heart of that midfield, helping young players develop. And I think when you lose that structure, doesn't matter who you bring in, they will struggle. And I just think with that many important players going, they will not be able to go any higher. Obviously, that is disappointing for Liverpool fans. You know, obviously they're playing in Europa League, which I think they will walk through. You know, they could play their young players like Harvey Elliott, Nate Jones, you know, and they could easily go far and let players rest, which obviously compared to the 3 teams above them is a benefit. But I think they still need 2 more midfielders, preferably a new centre-back, because obviously they're going to be playing in Europe and in the league as well, and that's draining for them. So I think fourth for Liverpool. Moving into third, Manchester United. Now obviously this is a bit biased, but I do think they are in a better position than Liverpool. They've brought in Onana. Obviously that is a big, bold call from Ten Hag to let De Gea go for free and then replacing him. Obviously a ball-playing goalkeeper is what they wanted and he wanted. He's looked quite good in pre-season, but they've also brought in the likes of Mason Mount from Chelsea. Obviously his pre-season hasn't gone great, but I think he is one for the future, you know. I don't think you can write him off because he had a bad season last season for Chelsea. All players for Chelsea had a bad season. I think Ten Hag can get the best out of Mason Mount. They brought in Johnny Evans. Obviously, that was supposedly for the pre-season tour to get help and get fitness, and for potential a club to buy him. Obviously, he's a free agent. But I believe that Man United have made that a 1-year deal, loan deal for him, so that he can stay on. And that gives Ten Hag a little bit of depth. Obviously, having Maguire, obviously the deal was been confirmed for West Ham. They're looking to sell McTominay and Fred, and hopefully that will finance some more money so that we can get a new centre mid. Obviously, Amrabat is probably the favourite, though reports yesterday is that Atletico are gone in for him and he would prefer Atletico to Man United, which is another disappointment because Man United have lost out on so many potential signings this season. And I think the big factor for Man United is going to be Remus Holland. Harlidsburg, I don't know how you pronounce it. Obviously, I eventually will learn because he's a Man United fan. But 72 million for a 19-year-old striker that is unproven is big. Now, I think when you look at that signing, we wanted Kane, and we didn't have the money to spend 100 million on Kane. Obviously, if Kane doesn't leave, there is a chance we could get him on a free next season or in January. But right now, Ramos Holland, it will be on the bench, personally, for the first 2 or 3 games, so that he can learn from Marcus Rashford, from Jason Sancho, who is playing at that centre forward at the minute. He has time to develop, so I think obviously all fans are criticising why he paid so much money for him. He is one for the future. There is no doubt about it. What he will produce this season won't be great. I think if he can get between 12 to 16 goals maybe, that is a good season for him. Obviously, when you're paying 72 million for a striker, obviously most people would expect 20 to 30 goals. But at the age of 19, he's unproven. He's still developing. You know, I think you can't put too much pressure on him. And basically, I think we will finish third. I think back in the Champions League, Man United will want to make a statement for that. Obviously, I believe we could easily get to the quarterfinals, depending on the draw. We definitely need to be topping the group. Whatever we get drawn, we should be topping it. Unless we get a team like Real Madrid or PSG, I think we can top the group. And the only thing I think is, obviously, our squad depth is still a bit too thin. But we still got time. We're still looking at a new centre-back because Harry Maguire is apparently left. Talks are with Pavard from Bayern Munich, Axel Diasby from Leverkusen, and I believe it's Tobolo, I think it's how you pronounce it, the French centre-back. So Man United are looking to still strengthen, and I think if Ten Hag can get his men, I think I will be a little bit more confident with third. I think third is a good season. Obviously, the big worry is with likes of Liverpool and Chelsea Chelsea not playing in any competition and Liverpool playing in Europa League. That could play in a factor on why we don't finish third, but I'm backing the boys in red, my team, to finish third. So who have I got in second, and who will miss out on the Premier League this season? I've got Arsenal in second. They've strengthened so well. You know, you look at the signings they brought in. Declan Rice, 105 million. You've never seen Arsenal spend that much money in the last 10 years. They've gone out because they want to compete. No, they did well last season. People didn't think they were going to do that well. They pushed City to the last 6 games, and then the run of fixtures of the West Ham, Southampton, Brentford, I believe it was, and then the Man City game just killed their title hopes. Obviously, bringing in Havertz, Rice, and Jury Timber are great business. Obviously, the deal with Rayner to go through today or tomorrow, hopefully. is a great business. It gives that squad depth, that keeping position backup in case of Ramsdale isn't fit or injury or he needs a rest from all the games that they're going to be playing in Europe. I think the same with Man United. Arsenal haven't been in Champions League in a while, so they will want to do well, and that could affect why they finish second and not push Man City, who obviously by now you should know that there's number one for me. I think Arteta has done well. Now, people were questioning about the project. I do think a massive talking point from Arsenal is letting go of Granit Xhaka. I'm surprised they let him go because I know for years people were saying he's not good enough. He's not. Last season he did bits for them. He was the captain, you know, obviously with Odegaard sharing it as calls here and there. But he had a great season. Letting him go will be a massive loss. Obviously, Rice coming in as the replacement is a massive upgrade. But I think just for squad depth, they probably should have kept him. Obviously, there's still talks of Balogun going out on loan. They've got Jesus who's out injured for the first 3-4 weeks, I believe. So that will play a factor on them at the start of the season. I think when you spend nearly 200 million, you need to be competing. So for Arsenal fans, that will be disappointing for them to say that I'm going to put them second when they've done really well. But I just think the team that's going to win the league is next level. You know, Man City, 4 Premier Leagues in a row, never been done. They won the treble last year, and as a United fan, that really hurt. You know, being the only team to win the treble, and then City gone and done that, winning the Champions League. The problem with City this season is when you look at the players they've let go. Riyad Mahrez, you know, been there for the last 5 years. 5-time Premier League winner. Icon Gundogan, who basically won them the league 2 years ago when they were, 2-0 down, I believe, and they won 3-2 on the last game of the season, I believe it was. That is big. No, that's big character, then go. You know, I tell you, their first team is cracked. You know, they've got Haaland, they've got De Bruyne, they've got Grealish, they've got John Stones playing in a right back, CDM, hybrid, whatever. You know, they've gone and spent 80 million on a centre back, which they don't even fucking need. You know, Kovacic to replace Gundogan. You know, they're just too good. You know. As a United fan, it hurts me to put them as number one, but oh my God, they're just too good. Pep Guardiola, master, you know. I think I saw a post last night about how many trophies Pep Guardiola's behind on Sir Alex Ferguson. I think it was something like 6 trophies behind against Sir Alex Ferguson. And, you know, within this year, next year, you know, I think he will break Sir Alex Ferguson's record for the most trophies as a manager. No, I just think City are next level. I think despite letting the players they've let go, I cannot see a world where they don't win the league, and breaking history is what they do. You know, they've done it for the last 2-3 years. The only thing I hope happens is they won the treble, the hunger is gone, you know, but I don't see Pep Guardiola accepting that, you know. He wants to make history. 4 Premier Leagues in a row. No team has ever done that. I think City win the Premier League this year as well. To wrap it up, guys, so this is my Premier League 2023 predictions. Quickly run it through. Sheffield United in 20th. Luton Town in 19th. Wolves in 18th, all to get relegated. Nottingham Forest in 17th, just to survive. Bournemouth 16th. Everton in 15th. Newly promoted side Vincent Kompany's Burnley in 14th, having a great season. Palace, Fulham, Brentford. Rounding into the top 10, we have West Ham. 9th, Spurs. 8th, Brighton. 7th, Aston Villa. Top 6 will be Newcastle, Chelsea, and in the Champions League group places will go to Liverpool in 4th, Manchester United in 3rd, Arsenal in 2nd, and winning the league will be Man City. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I know some of you are going to disagree with my predictions. You know, that's the beauty about predictions. You're never going to get them 100% correct. It's personal opinion. If you did like the video, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments down below your predictions. I want to hear what you think will happen this season. Thank you for watching, guys. Peace out.